Quick progress update. Dad's over. I don't have to work today, so we're putting a lot of work in. We got that all finished up. We've got the stuff for the niche in place, which we can clean up later. We're cutting that one that ended up a little bit angled and get that in. Now we're working our way up the wall. Now my math says that the math says I don't have enough, right? We're not going to be able to actually finish. When I mathed it, I, for whatever reason, decided that when they said they're 2x8 tiles, that they are 2 inches by 8 inches. And then I added the grout lines and bought like 3.5 square feet more than I thought I needed, which ended up being 10 square feet less than I needed. So it could be I mathed incorrectly and we end up having enough, but I don't think that's the case. I think after I double checked everything, we're going to be like 4 boxes short. So the goal here is this stuff's done so that we can put in the hardware, silicone it up after we grout, and put the glass up. And on this side, this is where our glass comes to, right? So as long as we get to here and wide enough, maybe diagonal down if we have to, so that we can grout what's in place, put the glass up, wait for this tile to come back in stock, order a bunch, and then keep our fingers crossed that it matches and that the color isn't way off. So if it's not one thing, it's another. But overall, just having it on there and having to wait for something to show up in stock is going to be way less stressful to me than having a bunch of tile around and in the way. And at least, once the glass is up, we can use the shower, right? We can get the grout up, we can get it sealed, and then a week later we're showering, right? Because the wall's waterproof, everything's fine. And then when the new tile comes in and we order it and get going, then we just stop showering while we finish the wall. So that's the ideal world we're going for. Well, just as I thought, right, we're a little bit short. Nice thing, at least now it's closer. We know how many rows we have left. We can actually count how many physical tiles we need. Now, with the ones that have chipped corners that we don't feel are acceptable to put on the wall, they're just a little too rough for us. You're talking maybe 20 to 30% slippage. So far by math, if I got 2 boxes, it would make it. So I think I ordered 3 more boxes whenever they come in stock. In the meantime, our glass is going to come to like here. So once, tomorrow I can tear all this stuff down, get the things off. We can think about getting everything grouted to this point. Because we'll grout it, we'll wait a few days, whatever it says in the bag, and then even though it says it doesn't need sealer, we're putting sealer down, and that takes like a week, right? You put it down, wait 2 days, put it down, wait 2 days. There's a whole list of junk. But yeah, get the grout up, get it sealed. We can get all hardware in place, get the door trim in place, get the glass in place. There's a whole bunch of stuff we'll be able to do while we hope that this stuff comes back in stock. If it doesn't ever come back in stock, if it, next week it's discontinued, I don't know what we'll do. We'll have to figure something out. But at least at this point, we have a big rectangle we can figure out instead of like a diagonal, like I was thinking I might have to do. So, and then I got the laser out, so you can see right along that top, like we're damn near perfectly level all the way across. So things are looking really good. I like it. So, well, yeah, we're getting there, right? So it looks the way it's supposed to, so that's good. This wall turned out pretty nice. Everything's nice and flat. There's some spots I'll have to clean up the thin set out of there. I think that I can just grab my grout knife. That does, it's like 1/8 of an inch, so it should fit in these slots. I should be able to just real carefully pop that stuff out. Try to figure out if there's a method people use to get this stuff off so it doesn't scratch the glass, but I don't think we're gonna have to worry too much. I think that'll just kind of, figure it out. Maybe a sponge will take it out. Use a little bit of water so it's lubricated and you won't scratch it, but we'll see. Maybe we'll find out that I should have been more careful with the thin set. But it's fine. Either way, so that's the space we have left. So as soon as 3 boxes are available, I'll order 3 boxes, but who knows how long that'll be. In the meantime, we'll be able to grout what's here, seal up everything else, and have a functional shower. And then when I need to do that top part, it's going to be no big deal to finish it up in a day or two. here's that knife that I got. And it's got two blades, right? One that's like sawed looking blade, and then one that's grindy. And if you have thicker grout lines like we're doing, like 1/8 of an inch, you just leave them both on the knife, and it helps keep the positioning. But it's like, you know, little spots like this where it's sticking up. Be careful not to get on the surface because it'll scratch a snot out of it. But see, now we have a nice deep, like much deeper grout line to work with. Just go around, it's a little tedious, but it'll make sure things are correct and our grout won't crack. Then I went over some of the spots, like in the niche where, you know, there's stuff on the surface of the glass, and just hit it with a damp sponge, actually the rough side of a damp sponge, this one. And so here's, you know, where I scratched it with the knife to see how bad it would be, and then roughed it up with the blue side of the sponge, and it, you know, it doesn't scratch it at all because it's not glossy. So we can be somewhat aggressive with this stuff. We just want to make sure to keep it clear of any chunks, right? If we go across and we break off a big piece with a sponge like that, you know, that little guy right there, and then start wiping that across the surface, we might get scratches. So we'll do the knife first to get all our grout lines nice and cleaned up. Vacuum the wall off, make sure there aren't little pieces that are going to fall out and scratch our tile, and then do the surface. That way it's ready to grout tomorrow. There you go. I don't know if it looks any different on camera, at least on the preview on the screen. Like, it looks like real goofy. It doesn't look like that in person. So what you'll see is these dark strips, right? Is that this tile has paint on that edge and the other ones don't. This tile has paint on the edge. So all those dark spots, that's what all of them will look like once the grout's in place. It'll even things out a bit. I don't think they're supposed to be entirely even anyway. But it's interesting to see them darken up a little bit, which is expected. And I have a little test panel downstairs I wanted to put some grout on to make sure the grout doesn't scratch it. So I'll need to figure out how to mix up a tiny, tiny amount of grout. I think I'll just turn it into pancake batter and eyeball it, right? So yeah, overall, all the grout lines are cleaned out. Went over it with the sponge and got stuff off the faces. It's starting to really come together. I still need to clean up on the floor a bit before we do any grouting, but I'm gonna go ahead and wait until the walls dry a little bit, because there's big, you know, pieces of blue sponge that tore off that are in there, and I think when they're dry they'll be easier to vacuum out. If they don't vacuum out, I'll just get some tweezers because they're not hard to see, and just pick them out of there real quick. Yeah, so we'll go do a grout test, and then we'll clean the floor up. Here's the grout I got, this fine aggregate stuff. It doesn't have Portland cement. It's a polymer type grout thingy. And it doesn't have sand, right? It's supposed to be really, really fine. It's supposed to be safe for glass, and it can do a 1/16 of an inch up to 3/4 inch grout lines. It's, you know, some kind of miracle product, of course, right? So we'll find out. But got a little bit here. I'm just going to add water to it until it's a consistency that makes sense. Looks like grout's usually a bit thinner than the thin set is. Like, it'll kind of drip off the edge of stuff, and you just smear it in the holes. So I'll get a pair of gloves and just put this on with my fingers, sponge it off so there's no haze, and we'll let it sit. You know, it's supposed to take foot traffic in 3 hours, so I'll be gone to work by then, but we'll be able to look at it later and buff the top off and see how the tiles look. So we know before we slap this stuff up on the wall that we're not going to ruin our whole wall. There we go. So it didn't take much water. It kind of gets to a point where it suddenly just mixes together. This is, you know, I don't know if the ratio's right, but this feels like kind of like halfway between really soft butter and sour cream. I think it's going to be fine, because really we want to see what the color looks like, whether it scratches the tile. We're going to do it with these horizontal, so it's not like it's going to dribble everywhere and make a huge mess. We'll give it a couple minutes to slack, stir it again, and then, like I said, I was going to wipe it in with my fingers, and I'll get it up along these edges as well, so we get the proper lighting like we will on the wall. And once it's dried up, we'll be able to just take this upstairs and kind of like look at it and decide if it's in the same light. Does it look the way we want? Is the color of the grout the way we want? Should be avalanche. I wouldn't buy the wrong bag. Yeah, avalanche. So that should be nice and bright white when it cures. We'll find out. But I have a matching tube of caulk for it from the same brand, so hopefully it's the way wife wants it. Here we go. I just pushed it all in place with a sponge, took my finger and kind of emptied out some of these divots and ran them down the lines just to give them kind of that concave look. So I think that's how we're going to want it. If she wants it more flat, we can make that change, but I think this is going to look good. We'll wait the instructed 15 to 30 minutes before washing and then see how that looks. Well, it seems to be setting up pretty quickly. It's been 20 minutes. This comes off. I can rub it and it just comes off, but we'll do it the way it's instructed, which is with a wet sponge. Just wipe across, wipe across, wipe across. Try to get as much off as we can so there's very little haze, and then when everything's done, you dry polish to get the haze off. Yeah, so it seems to be going well. So yeah, we'll come back and buff this off, and some of this really ended up going down in there pretty deep, so I wonder if I had air trapped inside, and this is so mixed so loosely because I didn't measure or anything that yeah, it sunk down in those cracks. So yeah, it'll be fine when it's on the wall. Like I said, we're mostly looking for a color and whether it scratches the glass or not, because I mean, this is what we use for our grout sponge as well, right? I got my good sponge over there. I don't want to mess it up, having to clean that thing out really nice. This I can just throw away and get on with my day. So yeah, we'll leave this alone and check on it after work. So here's the grout when I got home from work. I had sent the wife a message saying, hey, it looks a little yellowy. I think it's the rust in our well water. And she said, you're a crazy person. It looks white to me. And I come upstairs and some Twilight Zone shit, man. So yeah, it's nice and bright. It looks good. The finish is going to be a lot better when I do it not with my finger and proper mixing and all that kind of stuff. But you can kind of see how the tiles are going to look once they're grouted in, right? They'll have even shadow on all sides. They don't really get that much darker. I'm pretty happy with it. Yeah, so I think because it doesn't cost that much, we'll go ahead and go get a gallon of distilled water anyway to mix it instead of our well water, just to be safe. But yeah, it'll be interesting when I go through and edit this to see what the color difference is from when it was, before I left for work, when it was hardening up, and I was able to clean it off, and now, because it is 100% different in my mind, but I have a weird mind, so we'll find out.